welcome to the 25th show of the Pondwater Dave Show. That's a quarter way to 100 if my slapdick math is correct. My name is
Sure
Justin.
is. If you get cheaper insurance when you're 25.
That's right. My name
You know
is
why?
Justin, and I'm
You know why it costs more to insure 25-year-old boys than it does 25-year-old girls?
Why?
Because 25-year-old girls don't get blowjobs while they're driving.
Oh, that's
Lord.
true. That is true. Well,
Already.
My name is Justin Davis. I'm the host of the Pondwater Dave Show, and that crass person over there is the namesake of the show, the man himself, Dave Miller, Pondwater Dave, Super Dave, whatever you want to call him. What's going on, buddy?
Post-op got new eyes.
That's right.
Amy looks better. I didn't realize she was so pretty, and Justin, I didn't realize you were so ugly.
I know.
Lord help us.
Speaking of Amy, our other co-host here, Miss Amy Vaughn, the First Lady of the Arn Anderson Fan Club. How are you this week?
I'm wonderful. Did you see Arn give that DDT last night? Was that not fabulous?
In that promo, he didn't say a lot, but what he said hit home. I mean, it was impactful.
Exactly. I just was so happy for him. I can't wait to see him with Wardlow. This is going to be, I hope it continues. I hope it's not just like a one-off. And, I hope that that's something that, he's able to continue with. But, man, I love seeing that DDT. That was fun.
Arn really is the king of the slide in, spine buster, get out type deal. And he did it with the DDT last night.
And I was stressed. I got a little antsy when he slid in. I'm like, I could see that it was coming, and I thought, can Arn do a spine buster still? And then when he did the DDT, I was like, whoa!
Yeah.
It was nice. And rolled right out. I was so happy for him. I just wonderful. So
I didn't watch the show last night, but I saw the clip on Twitter today, and I just thought that was so cool when I saw it.
Who was the hot blonde that climbed up on the ring that was with QT? I don't have any. They didn't ever say her name, and I have no idea.
Yeah, they did. They did say her name when she came out. Again, like everybody's supposed to know who she was. I just assumed. I don't know if she's been coming out with QT, but I feel like that was the only time it was ever said. And of course, people are hooting and hollering, so you can't. And it was Excalibur that said her name, so you can't really hear, exactly what it is.
Haley Cameron.
Haley Cameron.
Haley Cameron. Haley Cameron.
Who told you that?
Eddie,
where's she from?
Y'all can't see Ed, but we do this show live, and we want to thank our live studio audience for joining us tonight. We got Jared Wise rolling with us. We got Terry Weaver in the house. We got Eddie Prather. We got little Jimmy Sorensen worldwide.
Hey, James. So glad you're here.
She's a friend of Rebels. I'm glad Rebels got a friend. I don't think his name's Tony Khan.
Is she does she go to QT school, or like why is she coming out with them, with Powerhouse Hobbs?
Oh, I have no idea. I just noticed her.
Yeah. That's I tend to maybe fast forward some things, or I'm doing other stuff when things are on. I've never seen her before, so but she, maybe she's been on Darks or something.
Before we get started with trivia, let's go on our first land of the right. I'm going to look in the camera, my eyes to your eyes. If Tony Khan's watching this, and we know he's not, but somebody could clip it and send it to him. Her name's Rebel, not Reba. She's what's considered to be an effing star. And you sent 2 women to the ring against 3. There's no reason she shouldn't have been ringside. Plus, she's roll tide, and we wanted to see her. So let's work on that for next week. Pondwater out.
I like that.
Well, that was this week's PSA from Pondwater Dave.
That's better than the other one that we heard about. Apparently, 25-year-old boys get.
Yeah,
Amy, that's science. That's science.
I know. I know. I'm sure.
So,
I just don't want to think about that. My boy's 13, so I don't want to think about that kind of stuff.
This week's show is all about
disclosure. I was married at 25, and that wasn't happening in my house.
I wasn't married at 25, and it was happening at my
But
house.
Oh Lordy.
But I'd heard about the fabled roadhead.
Let's
It seemed delightful.
just say I was going to Martinsville, Virginia for a NASCAR race, going down the highway, and had to pull over very quickly because things were heating up, as they like to say. So our show this week is not about Roadhead. It's about Insurrextion 2003.
Which was much better. It was not as good as Roadhead.
That's right. No, it was not.
I'll take y'all's word for it.
I don't know. Insurrextion 2003, live from England.
Yeah.
So, and
it's the 20th anniversary of it. You know, 2003, and today's 2023.
And
so
here it is, 20 years later, WWE's back on their way to England for a pay-per-view, this live premium event this month.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. I mean, they're going to we talked about this. They're going to Backlash, which is in Puerto Rico, which I don't think they've ever done a pay-per-view in Puerto Rico. Right?
Oh, they are going to Puerto Rico.
Oh,
they're not going to England until next time.
Right. But then they're going to
Castle.
They're going to Saudi Arabia for Night of the Champions. And
when they going to England?
Well, then they're going to England. So they're not going to England. I think I wrote it down. July 1st. July 1st is Money.
July?
Yeah, July 1st is Money in the Bank, and that's where they're having that in England. But they're going to Saudi Arabia and Puerto Rico first. Puerto Rico next May, Saudi Arabia in June, and then they're hitting is that right? I think so.
Well, I thought I was so clever finding this from 20 years ago timely with WWE's return to England, and I completely blew it.
Well, whenever you
much like Justin's NASCAR companion on the way to Martinsville. Oh, platform. I don't have the rim shots.
So this event took place. WWE Insurrextion 2003 took place June 7th of 2003 at the Telewest Arena in Newcastle, England, and it was only broadcast exclusively in the United Kingdom, which is a reason why I've never seen this show. I'm sure. So we got some trivia, Amy. What do you got for us?
We do. So, like you said, Justin, it was one of 4 pay-per-views that they did in England called Insurrextion. So they did 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003 was actually the last one there. And you kind of told the first question, but that wasn't your fault. But where did Insurrextion 2003 take place? Was it Newcastle, England, London, England, Manchester, England, or Liverpool, England?
Which would be Newcastle, which is a type of beer that I once drank in high school for a short period of time.
Then you promoted to Evan Williams, right?
Yes.
All right. What unknown superstar lost to Maven in the dark match before Insurrextion? Was it the Navajo Warrior? Quit looking. Put that down. The Navajo.
My eyes are still blurry. I can't read the small. I tried though.
Navajo Warrior, Colt Cabana, Christian Eckstein, or Scotty Charisma? Who was the unknown superstar that lost to Maven?
I'm going to go with the great St. Louis Cardinal David Eckstein's brother, Christian Eckstein.
Pondwater?
He's correct. I already knew it because I read this when I pulled it off the printer.
Okay, I want to say something real quick.
I couldn't remember the last name.
Eckstein. I know it's such a weird kind of, but you are correct. It is Christian. Yeah. Do you think would that have been someone from a British wrestler? Maybe.
Probably a bloody jobber.
Oh yeah, I mean someone over the so I don't know. Maven pinned him with a missile drop kick, so don't see a lot of that. Who won the last dark match before Insurrextion started? Was it Lance Storm, Hurricane, Randy Orton, or Mark Henry? Who won the last dark match before the show Insurrextion started?
I'm going to go with the Canadian hero, Lance Storm.
Stand back.
Uh-oh. There's
a hurricane coming through.
But, Justin, you are correct. He was wrestling Lance Storm, but Hurricane beat Lance Storm with a Shining Wizard.
That's what I call my gimmick sometimes, a shiny wizard.
I have learned way too much about, some things tonight. All righty. Who
if
won?
we ever talk about world-class firework, 4th of July fireworks spectacular from the Tarrant County Convention Center in Fort Worth, Texas, the 4th of July of 1984, I might have a story for you.
How old were you?
18.
You were okay. Was the other person 18?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wondered. I didn't know.
How do you know there's another person there?
Oh.
No, you're just assuming that I was talking about. Get your mind out of the gutter, Miss Amy.
Oh.
If it's a story that involves a shiny wizard, then it's probably by himself in 1984.
The firework extravaganza. I just thought, that just seemed like it wrote itself there.
This is what happens when we start after 9 on the East Coast.
Exactly.
Hey, after dark, Daddy.
And it's Little Friday is what we like to call Thursday around here.
That's right. Friday Eve. Who won the women's championship match at Insurrextion? Was it Jazz? Oh, sorry. Let me flip my page. Jazz, Victoria, Trish Stratus, or Lita?
Trish Stratus.
No, it was Jazz.
It was Jazz.
And I'm very excited.
Oh, that's right. She did win. I even watched that today, and I still forgot the answer.
I'm so excited to talk about this match.
You know what, though? I think it's really cool. Trish was on Raw this past week, and here we are talking about, here we are talking about her wrestling Insurrextion 20 years ago, and she still looks amazing.
She looks better now than she did 20 years ago.
I thought she looked hot as hell as a heel Monday night.
Exactly. And she's had children. And I mean, she's really, like you said, I think that's kind of interesting about who we're still seeing in the wrestling world at this point. Speaking of that, who won the Intercontinental Championship match at Insurrextion? Was it Christian, Mick Foley, Booker T, or Chris Jericho?
Christian?
It was Christian.
It was Christian. He beat Booker T.
Another Canadian.
Over with that crowd.
Christian was?
Booker T.
Oh, Booker T. I was going to say. Well, and plus two, Christian cheated. He leveraged the ropes to get the win. So, I mean, I'm sure that helped. Nobody likes a cheater.
Christian had that good theme song at the time too.
I always have liked Christian.
Christian, at last he's on his own. But for some reason they cut the "at last he's on his own" out of it.
I guess when Dave got his eye fixed, he got his prostate checked too. It sounds like the way.
It's the damnedest thing. As the damnedest thing, I said, "Doc, are you sure you're only using one finger?" And then I realized both hands were on my shoulder.
Oh.
I like the banana joke.
I'm playing the hits tonight, y'all.
I like the banana joke that Conrad said on What Happened When this week. That was fantastic.
What was it? I'm like 2 weeks behind on everything. So
this guy's he's teaching sex ed, and he goes, I'm going to show you how to put on a condom. He gets a banana out, and he takes a big bite out of the top of the banana, and they said, "What are you doing?" He goes, "I can't get hard on an empty stomach." I thought that was pretty damn good.
I would suggest, teacher Justin, that is not how you approach it in your school if you ever have asked to do that. Teach
I
that
don't think
class.
I'd be the one they draw the name out of the hat to teach.
You never know. They might. Okay, who won the tag team championship? Who won the tag team championship match at Insurrextion? I can't even talk. Was it Rob Van Dam and Kane, Batista and Ric Flair, La Resistance, or William Regal and Val Venus? These are some I mean, all of these were tag teams and they're very interesting.
I'm gonna go with Les Restants. Whatever.
I said that it's gonna be a complete guess because I saw them and I slept through this match. I really did.
Well, they were in the match, but they got beat by Rob Van Dam and Kane.
Good, because they probably carried an 85-pound bag of suck to the ring.
Who? Rob Van Dam and Kane?
No, La Resistance.
La Resistance. Hey, sometimes you got to chicken shit out of make some chicken salad. You got to do something with it.
You can tell their tag team division was just non-existent at this point. I think that's probably why they brought La Resistance. Well, the Hardys were kind of going on did they already break up or getting ready to? And
they had already, like I said, this list, La Resistance was really the only tag team.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Like you just have a bunch of singles people thrown together. But
I mean, when La Resistance comes on, I'll normally call my mom and ask her to describe her old age pains to me because I'd rather hear about my mom's suffering than watch La Resistance.
Somebody call my mama.
Brandon Young's with us on he's watching us on Facebook tonight. We're broadcasting on YouTube and Facebook now. Brandon, thank you for joining us, my friend.
Hello. So who won the singles match at Insurrextion? Was it Eric Bischoff, Stone Cold, Goldust, or Rico? Somebody won the singles match at Insurrextion.
Goldust.
Goldust? What you think, Pondwater?
I think Goldust beat Rico.
You are correct. Goldberg. Goldust did.
Gold butt.
Y'all rubbing off on me. Goldust.
She's doing all the matches in her trivia, so we don't have to talk about this turd.
Exactly. Well, and again, it was.
Goldust had the Tourette's gimmick, which
Stone Cold Steve Austin even got on my nerves during this pay-per-view.
Me too.
It was too much Stone Cold.
Yeah. And I guess, they're coming over to England. They don't go. So like you said, throwing everything and all the titles are up for grabs. And, there's something very interesting about the previous year. I think I read this correct, but we'll talk about it in a minute.
You know what I think was so cringe? Sorry, you know what I think was so cringy about Stone Cold on this pay-per-view? Just everything was the what. It's like, and I'm going to hit him. And I'm going to punch him. What? And I'm going to... It's like, everything was that. It was kind of annoying.
Well, and plus, too, they weren't planning on... it was never shown in the United States. It wasn't available. And so, I don't want to say they could just do what they want, but, like you said, he could be a little over the top, the England crowd, because no one's going to see it.
I don't have a siren or trumpets or anything, but we have a run-in on the Pondwater Dave show tonight.
Uh-oh.
Our close personal friend, Mr. Andrew Hermes.
Our close personal dear friend, Andrew Hermes. Big Red.
He's definitely my close personal friend.
Hello, friends, and Justin.
Oh.
Have you listened to any of the show thus far?
No.
Oh, you missed all.
I just saw your message in Twitter.
He's been watching hockey.
The Wire, but close.
I was going to say,
I was just talking to our very close, dear personal friend Efren Bajorquez the other day and was trying to talk him into watching The Wire, Andrew. He has never seen it.
No shoot names, and that's a shame.
I know. So I was trying to explain to him the premise of the show. I'm like, it's basically like...
Tell him it's about dirty cops in Baltimore. It's called
I thought
The Truth.
it was about drugs and cops and all kinds of, just whatever in Baltimore.
The interconnectedness of the story is what works best.
Yes, I agree.
Because each season could be standalone. But anyway, Amy was talking about me, something about, I've got the right personality in England, something about that. I don't have a passport, but we'll figure it out.
Just win. They won't know you're over there.
That's right. That's right. All right. We'll just go on to the next trivia question. That way we're kind of going through the matches. Who won the 6-man tag team match at Insurrextion at Insurrextion? Was it, oh my God, the Dudley Boys and Spike Dudley, Jeff Hardy, Shawn Michaels, and Shane McMahon, Sean Stasiak, Jerry the King Lawler, and Steven Richards, Roddy Mack, Theodore Long, and Christopher Nowinski?
I'm going to go with the latter option of Theo my player Long's deal.
I think it was the Dudley Boys and Spike.
I agree. I think it was the Dudley Boys and Spike.
I think I woke up at the end of this match and I saw tables.
Well, again, Justin, you picked a team that was in the match, but they were not the winners. You are right. It was the Dudley Boys and Spike Dudley who beat those 3 guys with a 3D.
Carl Bramlett said that the Wire used to come on right after the Sopranos and that it was a good show.
Right. And I watched them in succession. I watched the Sopranos and then I watched The Wire right after that. That was like the best 2 weeks of my life.
Really? I will say I have not seen The Wire either.
It was when I first got COVID, so I was home for 2 weeks. I'm like, let's just do this.
I was going to say, I never watched The Sopranos until COVID, and then I watched the whole series.
I was going to say, yes. Isn't that funny how COVID did do that? Yellowstone.
It brought us together through Tiger King.
Yes. Yes, Yellowstone and House. I think we watched every one of House, which that was a good show that we did not watch when it was on, but I guess when it was on Peacock or Paramount, whichever one it was on, we watched.
Little known fact, Big Red writes fan letters to the Tiger King in prison every other week, but I didn't know. Sorry, I let that slip.
Adam says he wouldn't.
I'm not the one that. I just stepped on Pondwater.
No, you're
I'm
right.
not the one that likes sissy boys, so stop it.
That's right.
And we had evidence because I saw the video of your boyfriend.
He's got me there, Amy.
Tell him I said hi.
Guilty as charged.
Hey, Jared Weiss wants to know, isn't Chris Nowinski like a shoot brain surgeon now? I think he's a researcher for CTE.
Yeah, he's a big he's a top guy for CTE research.
And I do believe he has a PhD.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
He actually is Harvard educated. That was a shoot. That was not BS they came up with during the show. He was a Harvard educated, and the reason that he looked up CTE is he actually suffered concussions himself, and he's actually done most of the groundbreaking work for professional wrestling.
How long was he in wrestling?
Not long.
I was going to say, I must not have been watching for very long.
Yeah, he got hurt, but he was the annoying goody two-shoes, wore a varsity jacket and all that crap.
Yes, I do remember that.
Hair.
Yeah.
It was the Bischoff era.
He kind of looked like chubby Zach from Saved by the Bell, like during the college years, but with longer hair.
Mark Paul Gossard, stop it, please. He was much more attractive. And the huge phone really did it if you were a kid in the 90s. Pondwater, you're too old. You don't remember.
Oh, I was all in for high school Zach Morris. I'm just saying college Zach Morris must have been hitting the Bud Light a little too hard.
Isn't that what you do in college? I don't understand. No.
On behalf of the straight contingency, I was more into Tiffany Amber Thiessen.
Yes.
And
called that one right.
And the tall curly haired one.
You know what, Jesse?
Jesse Spano.
You know she's the really sad story of that show, because once she got hooked on pills in high school, then she became a stripper and everything. So
it was downhill from there.
Went downhill when she started doing those uppers, and she was so excited.
So excited.
Nothing good ever came out of the Pointer Sisters. God.
All right, Amy, what we got next?
Okay, who won? Oh, this is a bonus. Who won the special guest referee match at Insurrextion? And then can you name the special guest referee? So the options are Test, Scott Steiner, Vince McMahon, or Jamal with Rosie.
Scott Steiner.
Who won the special guest referee match at Insurrextion?
I thought Test was the referee.
No, Test was not.
Steiner.
Scott Steiner, and it was Test versus Stacy Keibler, wasn't it?
Steiner had his sleeves cut out and had with them big arms like I'd have in my referee shirt if I exercised and ate less.
Big Papa Pump with the hookup. I'm going with that too.
Scott Steiner did win. He beat Test. Who was the special guest referee?
Oh, that was Stacy Keibler.
Stacy Keibler.
Come on,
Stacy was not the special guest referee.
Was it Stone Cold?
Nope.
Pat Patterson, because you can always.
She said it.
Oh, it was Val Venus. It was Val Venus.
It was Val Venus.
Hello,
why? I don't know, but it was Val Venus.
Yeah, because he came out and he said, "Hello, ladies."
Exactly.
Wasn't he Sean Morley at that time? Wasn't that his gimmick?
Val Venus, because they played his music. I popped for it.
I don't know. What year are we talking about?
2003.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he was Sean Morley at some point because he was with Bischoff. And they did the feud with JR and the King. That might have been the year prior.
That was after Right to Censor.
Yeah, because he did the Al Snow thing too, won't it? Am I remembering that right? It was Commissioner Morley with Al Snow.
Well, and again, this was in England, so maybe that was just a one-off, him being Val Venus. I don't know. I don't remember.
I popped for it because I love the Val Venus music.
It is pretty good. I mean, you know who's coming. You know.
They spent a lot of time on that video. Who's coming? Yeah, I caught it too.
She's coming.
Amy was last night after that DDT by Oren. But anyway, moving on.
We already talked about that. Just about how great it was.
Oh.
Who won the main event street fight with manager match for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship? Okay, so everybody is in a match and they have a manager. So our options are Shawn Michaels and Kevin Nash. Shawn Michaels as the wrestler and Kevin Nash as the manager, or Kevin Nash as the wrestler and Shawn Michaels as the manager, Triple H with Ric Flair, or Ric Flair with Triple H.
Triple H with Ric Flair.
Triple H with Ric Flair. This was the reign of terror.
Yeah, you're all right. It was Triple H with Ric Flair. So,
which I really didn't think was the reign of terror, but for the record.
There you go. I do want to say for our fans out there that usually my trivia is a lot better, but we were very much back and forth about what we were doing, when we were doing it. And so it's a little bit more generic than I would have liked to have done. But
it is
surgery.
Do what?
I had surgery.
Yeah, I didn't say anything bad. I just said.
I mean,
he looks 100% better than he did last night. No offense.
He does. Yes, he does. At least he's not holding the light from his eye.
I would have never made it. I would have never made it to Bill Apter if we would have done our show last night. And I barely made it.
No, I don't blame you at all. It was very.
As soon as Bill turned off his camera, I got up and turned the lights out. And I sat in the dark in here talking to everybody because.
Yep.
That stuff they dilated my eyes with last 48 hours.
Yeah, you look a lot better today. A lot better.
Do we want to talk about this pay-per-view, Dave?
I want to at least talk about the first match.
The first match? which was
Jazz defending the women's championship with Theodore Long against Trish Stratus. And we've said on many occasions when we talked about the women back then, this was pre-Divas. This was the women's championship, but we always talked about that Medusa, was beyond before her time, didn't have anybody to work with, and the women really weren't that good. And, that was a good match. Jazz took a green Trish Stratus, and that was a good match. And I'd forgotten just how good Jazz was. And Jazz is still good. If Jazz shows up at a local show, you need to go out of your way to see Jazz, because 20 years later, Jazz can still perform.
Did she do anything? Did she do anything backstage at like some of the? I feel like she's doing stuff backstage in other promotions, not like WWE or anything. But
I think she might have been helping out a little bit at Impact.
Okay.
She had a quick swim through NWA before the pandemic, but her most recent time on television was in Impact with Jordan Grace.
Okay.
And but I don't think. I mean, she is tremendous, and I'd forgotten. And that women's match just stood out. Like, I watched it and think, man, this is going to be a good show. And and then Christian and Booker T came out, and I'm thinking, man, Booker's getting a hell of a pop. I'm going to watch this. And that was actually a pretty good match, because normally when Christian comes out, even to this day, my bladder says, hey, grab the paper. We're going to the can. And but I watched that match, and it was kind of okay. So I thought this was going to be, a fairly decent pay-per-view. And then we got to Kane and RVD, and that's when I went to sleep. When I saw Law Resistance, I mean, I went to sleep, and thankfully I didn't walk into the light.
Well, I mean, I actually didn't mind the match. I thought it was a good match for, what it was. I liked kind of continuing the storyline, so to speak, by leaving the chase with Trish, leaving the belt on Jazz here. So, yeah, I liked it. Watching that match, I thought, oh, this pay-per-view might not be too bad. You, Dave. And then I'm like, huh.
I mean, they started it off with a women's match that didn't. I mean, and that day, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Once upon a time, women's matches killed the momentum, or they were popcorn matches.
Right.
So for that match to get the opening spot and to take off, and it's just, I'm telling you, it was just incredible. I'm really thoroughly impressed.
Do you think? I mean, and I don't know much British wrestling, but do they look at women's matches like you said, the popcorn, the popcorn match, like, because I'm sitting there thinking about Paige, and her mother took on the name of Soraya, and we know she wasn't doing bra and panty matches. Like, I just wondered if, again, being in England for this pay-per-view, I just wonder if that was a reason why they brought two really good workers over there. I mean, they could have done something, bra and panties, pudding, or whatever. I mean,
Jazz wasn't about that shit.
Huh?
Jazz wasn't about bras and panties and pudding.
That's what I'm saying, is that, do you think the English audience perceived women's wrestling different, that they wanted to see a Jazz, and they wanted to see female wrestling?
Oh, yeah.
Not something else. That's what I was saying.
And that may be why they gave them that match, because it wasn't going to be broadcast in the United States.
Now I want to book a match and hear JR call Puppies and Pudding match.
Ed Prather says Jazz should have gotten in the WWE Hall of Fame over Sharmell. Why you got to be that way, Ed? What did Sharmell do to not deserve to be in the WWE Hall of Fame? She was not pro girl. She was an on-air talent. She had a good long career. Queen Sharmell was money.
Well, and I think
$1 million. She's roll tide, dude.
Right. Well, and I think too, one of the things that I think people tend to forget is, with the Hall of Fame, I mean, you can say no, and there are lots of people that will turn it down because there are rules that go with going into the Hall of Fame. I mean, a lot of times they talk about, being a legacy star or whatever. So just because you think someone should have gone into the Hall of Fame doesn't mean they weren't asked. Maybe they chose not to go in for whatever reason.
And
So
I bet this happens more than we know too, that someone left on like bad terms and they're like, fuck Vince, and they don't want to go back. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, you had Booker. I mean, not just saying that is
I just realized I drop an F-bomb. I usually don't do that on this show. Sorry.
on the nighttime.
I mean,
it's after dark. Remember?
I'm not saying that. I mean, Jazz 100% belongs in the Hall of Fame, but I'm just telling Ed, you don't have to. Why is it Jazz and Sharmell? Sharmell deserves it just as much. I mean, you ain't got to kick somebody out to put somebody in. But I do agree with you that Jazz 100% belongs in the Hall of Fame.
I can only add this to the conversation about Jazz. I think she brought a level of credibility to the women's division that you hadn't seen before, because you had Ivory and you had Victoria and you had Trish and you had Lita, but Jazz was just a badass. I mean, she was just gonna kill you when she hit the double chicken wing slam that our girl Jade uses now, Pondwater. I mean, it was believable that was ball game. She'd put you down, you were out for the count. Talking about the bra and panties thing, and this is just an observation from the timing. Obviously, Trish was bra and panties, but then she wasn't. And I think that may have been her decision to move into a more serious segment, because you'll still see Stacy and Tori screwing around with the bra and panty thing, and good on them. But Trish had moved into the more of the, I'm actually going to be a female wrestler. The problem is, after she'd run through everybody, who else do you put her with? So then you bring in Jazz. Jazz takes it off her, makes her chase it, makes Trish a bigger baby face. And then when she turns heel in the subsequent year, in the Christian Jericho storyline, it's even better.
And don't forget about Jackie.
Yeah, Jackie and Jazz would have been a hell of a match, because Jackie had the same problem Medusa had. She didn't have anybody to wrestle. And they put her in Memphis. They put her in there with the men, and she held her own.
Heck yeah, she did. Do you think one of the things that I did notice about this Insurrextion was it was exclusively for wrestlers from the promotion's Raw brand. So, I feel like we've kind of forgot in a sense, because, but they're getting ready to do a draft, in the WWE again. And do you think we'll go back to pay-per-views being SmackDown, Raw? Do you think they'll come together for the Big Four? What do you think? I mean, it might be a little bit more difficult because we have unified champions, like your tag team and your world champion, but you've got female, and I mean, do you think they're going to unify? What do you think is going to happen going forward with this, since we have a history of when they do the draft and when they separate, they try to do it like a Raw pay-per-view, a SmackDown pay-per-view, keeping people on the same show. What do you think might happen this draft?
I think it's possible, if they want to break the titles apart, which I think would be the most ridiculous thing in the world to do. They need to quit carrying two belts. It needs to be one belt. Champion appears on all television shows, all pay-per-views. One champion for everybody. That's how I feel. But if they decided they wanted to separate them, like say SmackDown drafts the Usos. Mm-hmm. Well, the Usos go as the SmackDown Tag Team Champions, but the Raw titles get left behind to be decided.
That'd be interesting.
And if Roman gets drafted to Raw or SmackDown, the championship gets left. That's when the championship gets broken up. And that would be there's no way in storyline that I could see after all this time that I'm going to defend my championship, but I'm only going to defend one of them. Because if that don't scream, I'm going to lose this and I'm still going to be champion of the other brand. I mean, it's just predictable, horrible booking. And I don't believe that even Vince could be that bad.
Yeah.
And the draft's lost its luster too. In 2002, when they had the Flair Taker storyline following Mania, and he drafts Undertaker as his number one pick, it made a difference. Some of this is pretty obvious, though, after 21 years of them drafting. Roman Reigns is going to end up on SmackDown, I promise, because SmackDown is the A show and they paid all the money. Granted, they've been on USA forever. Roman Reigns ain't going back to Monday night. That's not a prediction. That's not a prediction. That's a spoiler, as Paul Heyman would say. But breaking up the Usos would be silly. They're about to take the tag titles back, from Owens and Zayn. And I don't know enough about the other ones or care enough about the other ones. But to your point, Amy, they could defend the titles that way. They could have multiple pay-per-views. The problem is they're talent heavy, they're show heavy, and they still do the same thing a lot of wrestling promotions have done over the years. They lean on the top 10 or 15, and they forget they got all the other 60 sitting in catering.
Right.
And don't know what to do with them. So they can split up everything all they want, but I mean, Raw opened with a 34-minute segment Monday night of the Bloodline. You started with Paul Heyman and them coming out, then the Balor's group joined them, and then they had a match. By the time it was start to finish, it was 34 minutes of that show was done. And then we featured him twice more before the show was over. So, I don't really care about the draft, but go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I understood, I guess, why they did different titles in a sense when they had, like you said, in a sense, kind of two masters. They had USA and they had Fox. And so it kind of made sense that they were wanting to, if you wanted to kind of separate things out. But I'm like you. I think the draft has kind of lost the luster. Like you said, with these 60 people, you try to make something of them. We don't even remember them. We don't even know who they are, or they've been gimmicked so bad that, it's just like, I don't want to see them, I mean, Lacey Evans is a good example. She could be, I don't know why it's gone so wrong, but she's so stop, start. I think she seems like she could be a really big competitor in the, women's division, but she just doesn't seem to be getting off the ground. So when she gets drafted, I don't know if people are really going to, I don't want to say care, but it's just not, like you said, a draft. It's just.
I have a question about this though. Like, will they break up groups? Like, surely in hell they're not going to break up like Rhea Ripley's group. I mean, that's the hottest, one of the hottest.
See, here's the thing: is if you believe Nick Khan at his word that Triple H is in charge of creative and Vince is not, that it is the Triple H era, then this draft may make sense and may go. I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt and I do think they'll break up groups. I don't think it's right. I mean, the one year they broke up the New Day, but didn't break up the Usos.
Right. They like drafted them to get, like, you could draft teams together.
Or that's what I was going to ask. Like,
on each pick.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, can you say, I draft the Uso clan? Like all of them, Roman and Solo and the Usos. Is that a thing you can do?
I think that it ought to be. I think you ought to be able to pick teams. I think you should be able to pick teams. I think you should be able to pick individuals.
Yeah.
But maybe they ought to have like your first pick. You got to pick man, woman, team.
Right.
Or I was going to say maybe like each side gets 2 group picks.
But I don't think it's fair to pick Damage Control and get 3, and then somebody picks
Lacey Evans.
No, Judgment. Is it Judgment Day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They pick Judgment Day and they get 4. I'd like to see we're taking them one at a time, and And if you break up teams, you break up teams. Because I don't think Dominic needs a judgment day. I think Dominic could be the best chicken shit hill without the judgment day.
Prison Dom is best for business. I agree with you there.
What I think would be an interesting rule to put in. Let's say I draft Roman number 1. If I wanted the rest of Roman's team, that would lock me into Roman's team, but I would have to draft them now in succession. If I don't draft them in succession, then that leaves the rest of them open to being picked by the other side.
Or if you say, maybe you give up your options, like I want the bloodline, I want Roman Reigns, I want the bloodline. So SmackDown gets 5 picks now. I'm taking all them, so they get five picks.
Yeah.
I don't know. It will be interesting to see how this goes. I mean, like you said, some drafts have not been maybe gone as well as we had hoped. I mean, I don't know how I felt about everybody in the room, like acting like a real NFL, like how they're like showing the SmackDown room or showing the Raw.
When did you say they're doing this?
They're doing it. I forgot the date, right?
Next week?
It's Friday or next Friday. I forget because I just watched most of Raw.
I figured they would do
Monday.
it. I figured they'd do it a week from tomorrow because that would be the day after night 1 of the NFL draft, so they could maybe fling off of that.
Yeah,
you might be correct, but it's starting on SmackDown, and it's either this Friday or next Friday, and I can't tell you which one.
Did they say who's doing the picking? Or are they just going to random person going to come out and say Raw chooses this, or did they say like?
All I saw was the draft. I didn't see any specifics that way.
I haven't seen either. I haven't really. I haven't seen. I was going to look real quick just to see if they said anything, but I mean, I like everything. Everything recycles in a sense, and like you said, we've seen. Yes, April 28th. No. Yes, it starts. It doesn't say it starts this Friday, but next Friday, and will continue on May 1st. I thought maybe I don't know how to read. Hold on.
No, you're correct. That would be correct. Jason or Justin would be right then that they follow in the draft of the NFL.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like
the 28th is next Friday.
I like put it in reverse. Terry Weaver's idea. They need to bring Jets fans in sometimes to boo all the picks.
When are you going to start?
I about halfway like the Jets, but they will go so far down on my. I mean, they'll be almost to the top of my hated teams list if Aaron Rodgers is their quarterback.
Yeah,
yes.
I'm with you there. They have a former Bearcat, Sauce Gardner, on their team who had a great rookie year, and I'm kind of rooting for him. But if they bring that prick in, then I'm out on the Jets. Jets.
I bring a certain flair to things, as you all know from the group chat. I have an opinion on Aaron Rodgers, and that's that he won 1 Super Bowl built on the back of defense and became the biggest prima donna in the NFL and belongs just below Bret Hart and right above hockey on my list.
Well, you managed to stab Justin and me at the same time.
Andrew Hermes, you can go F off.
Gladly and without you.
We need to get Max Domi on the podcast and be our enforcer against Andrew when he says stuff like that. Justin, when are you going to start rocking the LWO shirt essay?
Ooh, I didn't know I was Latino, but I'll proudly embrace my Latino heritage.
Well, Adam thinks you are, and that's what he wanted to know.
I think Andrew Hermes has got a little bit more of that in him than me. I don't know. He eats a lot of
probably more than once too. I've embraced my Latino heritage, but this is not the show for that.
He eats too much cow tongue.
Oh, there's so much inside baseball on that.
all I know is if I get to walk down into any room with the Eddie Guerrero music playing behind me, I'm for it. So I love that.
Oh, I'm dead, y'all.
Well, we wanted to talk about another topic tonight, Andrew, and I'm interested to hear your opinion on this.
He's lying to you, folks. He is not interested in hearing my opinion. Go ahead.
I last night in the after dark version of the Bill After chat on ad-free shows last night, Dave and I and a few other slapdicks were discussing insurance, retirement, all that stuff when it comes to professional wrestling unions and all this basically general topic where I was really on the side of the wrestlers and basically calling Vince a cheap SOB for not giving them any insurance or stuff like that. I mean, these guys are putting their bodies on the line every night for you, and you won't help them get health insurance through the job because they're an independent contractor, but they're an independent contractor and can't do anything on their own. How are they an independent contractor? And to me, it's a double negative. It negates itself. Like, it doesn't make sense. So, Amy, you can go first. What do you think about this?
Well, you know what? You know, that is one of those arguments is, if you're an independent contractor, like you said, why are you not able to do things outside, use your own name? You're lots of times, you're coming in, you're, giving it maybe a different name again, so they can have the intellectual property of it. They want to own everything, but yet they want to call you an independent contractor. I wish there was something more in the middle, maybe. I kind of agree. Obviously, I would like for them to have some kind of insurance. I mean, you just hate it when you see older wrestlers anyway, and they're having to do GoFundMes because they don't have, they don't have any insurance. They don't have, and they are having.
You would certainly think like 10 plus years with the company or 15 plus years with the company would get you some type of insurance afterwards. But it happens for me here on this show. I'm an independent contractor, but Dave won't let me have an OnlyFans, and I really hate that. But
Oh, really? I have one. He didn't let you. He just doesn't want you to take his audience. I think that might be what it is. Just so you know, what does he mean? What does Terry mean? Going to his stage show really opened my eyes. Like his injuries or like things he had to do? What do you mean, Terry?
That he can barely walk, but Mick kind of pulled a lot of that.
Okay.
Mick kind of pulled a lot of that on himself, though, with the way he performed as well. But Mick's his hips are real bad and his knees and
Okay, so so he's talking about the damage he did. So I don't know though, but again, it's one of those things where you go to the WWF, whatever, and this. That's the other thing is like it's that you're an independent contractor, and so you can't have OnlyFans, and that you can't do those kind of things. Oh, that was mean, Eddie.
Hey, I'm not even gonna reply to that nasty comment.
Well,
but so that's the other thing. I mean, like you knew going in, that you weren't having that, and again, like smaller promotions like BIW. I mean, Josh can't afford insurance for his, and but they're also trying to go different places. I mean, he's bringing in.
I wouldn't put this on an independent. I mean, this is.
Well, I just meant the idea. I just kind of meant like, the idea.
I'm just talking about the WWE specifically and the guy that owns it who just sold it for $12 billion or whatever. You would think they could slap a little bit of health insurance on their employees.
Here's the deal.
True.
They could offer insurance, and they'd have to offer insurance to everyone. Well, when they do that, there's no longer an independent contractor. They're an employee of the company.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. So they don't just once they become an employee of the company, then they're taking out their taxes and their Social Security. Mm-hmm. When an employer takes out Social Security, say they take $300 out of your check this week for Social Security, they mail the government $600 because they have to match your Social Security.
Mm.
So I'm not saying they can't afford it. I'm just saying once you make them employees, there's a whole new can of worms and taxes. That's why a lot of places don't want to pay overtime, because once you start taking out taxes on overtime money, the employer contribution grows even more. there's no incentive for an employer. I would think that there should be incentives for employers. If you got an employee who wants to work 70 hours a week, then they should incentivize, if that's a word, the employer to let them work those hours. But it's such a penalty to let your employees get overtime. That's why your companies like Dollar General that don't give a shit if their stores are staffed. Well, we're not gonna get Dollar General sponsorship. They don't give
I was
shit.
Working on that, but fine. No.
But I mean, I've had managers tell me that they cannot guarantee somebody more than 9 hours a week. They can get more than 9 hours a week, but they won't guarantee them more than 9 hours a week. That's a joke.
Yeah, how can you live like that's ridiculous?
So let's say WWE, that's what they would have to do. But then they do it, and then they have to offer everybody the insurance. Well, say I don't think every wrestler on the WWE roster that's married has a stay-at-home spouse. They may be out in the private sector, and that wrestler may have insurance because they're covered on their spouse's policy. Not all of them.
Right.
Some of them have that option, and then they may turn down the WWE's insurance because, I mean, we turned down Frito-Lay insurance because my wife's company has a better it's the same company, but it's a better bargain and better coverage for us to go through her. So I opt out of my health insurance to get covered on hers.
Right. That's what I do also.
Now, here's where the wrestlers could get insurance. And I don't know why they don't do it, because I hope this doesn't come as a great shock to anybody that may be listening to this. But Vince McMahon said that wrestling is a work.
What?
It's predetermined. Vince let open Pandora's box and let the cat out of the bag. So I would argue, and I do argue, that when the State Athletic Commission comes around for one of our independent shows and tells me I've got to have a license to be a referee in the state of Louisiana, well, why don't you assholes head down to this High School Musical and pop them for license? Because what's the difference? You know, I just don't think, I mean, it's a money deal. But if the wrestlers would go to the Screen Actors Guild and unionize, they would unionize. What's WWE going to do? Quit hiring wrestlers? They don't even want to call them wrestlers. Well, they kind of do now. But what I'm saying is, this has been discussed before. And when Zelina Vega got upset that they wanted to take her Twitch, the Screen Actors Guild came sniffing around, you know, about making statements like, we'd be very interested. They could unionize, be part of the Screen Actors Guild, and get benefits being part of that union. And everybody villainizes WWE, but AEW doesn't give them insurance either.
Right.
So, I mean, if it's available to them, they're not independent contractors; they're employees.
Yeah, and Top Guy Eddie did say that the WWE is letting their workers have their Twitch accounts back, I guess.
Well, now they are. It's and Twitch and the talent are making the most money off of it. WWE's taking a very small cut. And we talked about this last night too, if I'm getting off on a tangent. But if, say, Zelina Vega shows up in WWE and she's got this Twitch account. She's got the Twitch account and she goes under contract with WWE. I don't think they ought to be able to make her stop the Twitch account because she came with that.
Right.
Logan Paul comes with the Instagram following. He does more for WWE than they do for him.
Oh, definitely.
So Zelina Vega's bringing her million subscribers with her. Those should be the exceptions. Now, Mandy Rose, who became Mandy Rose under the WWE umbrella. And that's why it gives that WWE fame, gives her OnlyFans a bigger push. Never mind that they probably don't want to be associated with that. That's not the issue. But even the money issue, I think, because she's built that under their intellectual property that maybe she should cut them in for a piece of the pie. They may not need it. That's neither here or there, but right is right.
Yeah.
But if you came with it, you shouldn't have to share it.
Yeah.
You shouldn't get it shut down. Or maybe they're saying, hey, you're bringing that with you. We want a small cut. We want a small cut of it, but we're going to help you promote it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
they have to help promote it. They just can't hold their hand out.
I'm not trying to villainize WWE, but I do agree with what Terry Weaver says in the chat here. The WWE does take their favorite parts of certain situations and not the responsibilities that go with it. They've been allowed to do that and have their cake and eat it too for too long. That kind of sums up my attitude on the whole thing. You know,
I mean, they're very successful business, and their business. We lost Big Red.
Mm-hmm.
We're not. They're a publicly traded company, and they have a responsibility to service shareholders. I work for a company that's a publicly traded company. There he is. I work for a publicly traded company, and as a salesman, my job is to sell potato chips. But the attitude of my company, Frito-Lay, is that we service our customers, we service planograms, we get market share to satisfy our shareholders. So as a salesman, I don't want this brand of cookie called Gamesa, which is basically a Mexican cookie brand. I don't want them to force these Gamesas on me that I've got to get a little piece of every store that I got for market share, because I know in 4 or 5 months that I just put 32 packages of cookies in, and I'm going to pick 27 of them up. As a salesman, I know that I can't sell them. But as a company, they want that market share. That's why Frito-Lay sells cookies. That's why Frito-Lay sells crackers. We sell potato chips. We sell jerky. We sell dips. That's all considered. When you go to like a Kroger or a Walmart and you see the store, you see chips in multiple sections of the store, that's called share. And if the WWE can get a piece of what the wrestlers are doing on their own, that's a new revenue stream, which is the equivalent to market share, which jumps up their stock prices. And that's what they do. They're all about pumping up stock prices and satisfying shareholders.
So, Andrew, I genuinely am interested in your opinion on this. So you've listened to all of us blab on. And who the hell let Adam DeMoy in the group chat, Dave? Why would you do such a thing? Andrew, go ahead.
I thought that was Adam from Bama. He wasn't as trolly tonight as he normally is.
I can tell by his last comment to you, which is your job Pondwater to sell chips, or is it to sell little bags of air? I knew that is a Adam DeMoy comment. I
thought he was Adam from Bama up until then.
Go ahead, Andrew. Sorry.
No, you're fine, and you all make good points. The bottom line is anybody that makes their name in WWE on WWE television owes it to WWE. So they have some sort of responsibility one way or the other. Yes, Hulk Hogan was made by Vern Gagne, but the superstar was made by Vince McMahon. And he printed everything he could find to put a Hogan image on. He did it. From the lunchboxes to the T-shirts to the Hasbros, all of it. And we all remember it, and some of us fondly and some of us not. But from the independent contractor thing, I'm a commission salesperson. So my month, day one starts, I've made $0, and everything is 100% commission. I work 60 to 70 hours a week. I do not get paid for that. There is no salary to my job. So from the standpoint of we're looking at like a professional wrestler, yeah, they've got a downside guarantee. They know they're going to make that amount of money. But from that standpoint, there is no extra bonuses necessarily. There's no, there's all sorts of caveats to those contracts. We don't in the car business, because that's what I do. Obviously, you guys know I'm a finance manager for our corporate dealership. We're under 16 stores, and I'm at the headquarters of it right now. But from that standpoint, our dealership, there's no 2-week notice in the car business. You're gone. If you're going to move on, you're going to leave. You're going to leave. You know, and that's where I say, from an independent contractor standpoint, with the wrestlers, to Dave's point, the company's not going to take on the taxes. To your point, the company, you know, they're responsible for making these guys. They're going to make these guys. Here's the point I would make: professional wrestlers are getting paid more than they ever have been, and as somebody who does have sales income, that sort of thing, things you write off, whatever, you do have the ability to manage your assets. Mm-hmm. When you hear people talk about the failures of the independent contractors, not always health insurance, which they all should be able to afford, even independently, True. If you manage your money. But if you guys have listened to Jim Ross, Harper bitch about one thing, it's that his wrestlers didn't pay their quarterly taxes. Mm-hmm. And that is the larger issue, because then when the IRS gets involved and you go after professional wrestlers, you didn't pay your taxes, and then you didn't do it for a second year. Before you know it, that's where all your extra money goes. Mm-hmm. But a lot of them are poor managers of their money. They don't keep track of that sort of thing. But they're being paid more money than they ever have been as a group, as an industry, as an entity. I bet the four of us here could come pretty close to naming $10 million wrestlers, guys that are making $1 million guaranteed.
And let's
doesn't matter
the
brand.
When's the last time you heard of one of them getting hurt? And they say, well, I got hurt and WWE didn't pay me while I was hurt.
AEW didn't pay me while I was hurt. You know, I mean, just same thing, you know, from that standpoint, Dave. The other thing is, a lot of times they may not have health insurance.
I bet you Roman got paid while he was out with cancer.
I'm sure he did. And I'll just mention this because there's so many orthopedic injuries that they've had. James Andrews out of Birmingham, Alabama, had done all of the reconstructions on. You don't think WWE threw something in? You don't think they used their resources to make sure that John Cena with the torn pec, or Triple H with the torn quad, or any of these other injuries, you don't think they made sure they got the best medical treatment? Maybe they didn't flip the bill for it all, but they certainly made sure they had the best medical treatment. And you can villainize Vince all you want, and there's going to be a lot more of it, because I read a story today that part of this merger, Nick Khan has projected a $50 million downsize. That means people are losing jobs. That's what that means. Mm-hmm. Because when the UFC was absorbed by this parent company, they followed that exact same model. They trimmed all the fat.
They don't need 2 HR departments.
And that's what this was getting at, is all of a sudden you're going to lose jobs. Now, people not necessarily in wrestling are going to have a say about professional wrestling. That's where it's going to be interesting. But there's no opportunity for a union based on who runs those organizations. There's no opportunity for them becoming true employees based on who runs those organizations. And you're not going to break the wheel. So it is going to remain the way that it remains. And that is my opinion, since you asked.
Yes.
So let me ask you, Andrew, because I have always worked salary positions in the jobs that I do. So you are 100% commissioned. Mm-hmm. Does your company offer health insurance, or like offer you can purchase this, or we have some, like, how do you have to go out and find your own insurance, or does your company have it not in-house, but at least like, here are some plans if you want to pick from? Or how does that work, if you don't mind me asking?
No, you're fine. The owner of my company, they do provide insurance. I believe it's with Cigna, because we're in North Carolina. You've only got like 3 options, thanks to all of the nonsense with the healthcare laws. But there's only 3 options, so it's not really competitive. So what he did, and this is why he's a millionaire and one of the richest people in the area that I live in this state, is he does what we call self-insurance. So he has a true partner with Cigna, and he actually owns the insurance company that provides the health insurance. So when we're paying premiums, we're paying the boss.
Gotcha.
So yes, I do have health insurance through work. It is available. What he does is not illegal, and it helps his tax burden. So that's how he can independently be, we call it self-insured, the same way that we write our extended service contracts and all of our aftermarket products. We pay the claims out of our money.
Yeah,
So if you have $1,000 repair, but if you have $1,000 repair on a car, we're going to actually pay it out of our pool of money administered by our third party. So that is why they have people in my position that continually sell those products and benefits, because you have to be able to pay for them when somebody's service comes up. But to the insurance point of view, he self-insures, so we're paying him to hold the insurance.
Right.
Well, speaking of insurance, our lovely friend Adam DeMoy said, Justin, get you a Lloyd's of London policy and then let me kick you in the nuts so you can file a claim.
You have to find him first, but Lloyd's of London went out of business, about the same time Bret Hart did.
Yeah, I don't think Lloyd's of London will cover my nutsack, Adam DeMoy. I don't know if they put that on there as a coverable. Maybe, I guess you could. Lloyd's of London,
porn star, maybe you could. Yeah. What makes you money?
Who knows? What's his name? The famous porn star,
Ron Jeremy.
Ron Jeremy. He might have insured his gimmick. You never know.
I was an ugly man.
Oh God, you should see.
Blessed but ugly man.
He's
the hedgehog.
The hedgehog.
Popped. Legitimately.
Well, I think we've said, as Howard Stern says, we've said it all. We've said
enough. We said too much.
We said too much.
Amen to that. That was me, guys, not you.
Yep. Does anyone have any parting words?
No, thanks for the invite. Appreciate it. I love doing this with you guys, and love making Dave laugh at your expense, Justin. And Amy will continue to light my own row of candles at church this weekend.
All right. I need help. I need help with lighting the candles, so I appreciate you doing your own.
After his surgery last night, he needs a few laughs tonight. So thank you for coming on and doing that, Andrew. We appreciate you jumping on here with us. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed your expertise there, answer on the whole insurance situation. So come back on and join us sometime, Andrew. Thank you.
I'll do it. Thanks, guys.
All right. Well,
bye.
For Pondwater Dave, for Andrew Hermes, for the First Lady of the Arn Anderson Fan Club, Amy Vaughn, I am Justin Davis. And take care of yourself and each other. So long, everyone.
Go Stars.